Okay, we all know AI is basically changing everything, right? But it's got this secret, and it's a big one. It's incredibly thirsty for energy. And you're not going to believe where this massive problem starts. It's a tiny, almost invisible flaw down at the scale of a single atom. Seriously.
So first things first, let's just try to wrap our heads around how big this issue really is. We're not talking about a small bump in electricity use here. No, this is an absolute explosion in power demand. And honestly, it's catching pretty much everyone off guard.
Okay, get ready for this number. AI's power demand, it's projected to surge by 550%. And that's just in 2 years, between 2024 and 2026. I mean, that rate of growth is just staggering. And believe it or not, it's really only the beginning.
And you know, if you thought that was wild, just wait. By 2030, the demand is expected to hit 652 terawatt hours. Now, to put that into perspective for you, that's more than the entire yearly electricity consumption of a whole country like Sweden. These numbers are they're almost too big to really comprehend.
So where is all this power actually going? Well, the engine behind this whole thing is our global network of data centers. You've got thousands upon thousands of semiconductor chips just churning away on AI tasks, and then you have these enormous cooling systems that are just trying to keep everything from melting down. All right, now this is where things get really interesting. We're going to go from this huge global scale problem all the way down to its microscopic cause. Because the real root of this energy crisis, it's not in the power plants. It's buried deep inside the chips themselves, a tiny, tiny flaw in their very foundation.
And here it is. This is the culprit. It's called an atomic level defect. Now, think about it like this. If a semiconductor is like a super smooth multi-lane highway for electrons, this defect, it's like a single tiny pothole. Just one atom out of place, but it's enough to mess up the entire flow of traffic. Or, in this case, electrons.
And that little disruption, it causes something called leakage current. The best way to picture it is like a leaky faucet, but for electricity. See, because of that atomic pothole, the transistor can't ever really turn all the way off. It's constantly dripping energy, even when it's supposed to be doing nothing.
So you end up with this really simple, but kind of devastating chain reaction. The more of these little defects you have, the more transistors are leaking electricity. This makes them way less efficient, right? So they have to pull in more power to do the exact same job. Now just imagine. Multiply that one tiny leak by the billions of transistors packed inside just one data center. Yeah, now you're starting to see the real scale of the problem.
And look, this isn't just some technical problem for engineers to worry about. Oh no, that one tiny leak creates this massive ripple effect. It's a whole cascade of consequences that hits our wallets, our environment, and even the reliability of the stuff we use every single day.
Basically, we can see the impact hitting 3 main areas. So let's quickly break down how these tiny flaws affect things financially, for sustainability, and operationally.
Okay, let's start with the one we all feel: money. All that wasted electricity, it goes straight onto the power bill for these data centers. But it's actually a double whammy, because wasted energy creates extra heat. And what do you need to deal with heat? More power for the cooling systems. It's just a vicious and super expensive cycle.
Then, of course, there's the sustainability angle. I mean, data centers are already massive contributors to global carbon emissions. These little inefficiencies just make a bad problem even worse. They expand the carbon footprint and totally undermine the global push we're making toward green energy.
And finally, we've got operations. These defects, they don't just waste power, they actually make the hardware itself less stable. This can lead to all sorts of unpredictable device failures, more downtime for the services we rely on, and, you guessed it, higher maintenance costs just to keep the lights on.
So the problem is huge, and the cause is ridiculously tiny. But hey, the story doesn't end there. Researchers and engineers are on it. They are actively forging a path forward, coming up with solutions to create a better and way more efficient chip.
There are a bunch of strategies being used right now to fight this. Companies are using higher quality materials, they're doing more maintenance, creating smarter designs, and investing in renewables. And don't get me wrong, these are all really important steps, but they're mostly just managing the symptoms of the problem, not curing the disease.
But what if? What if you could fix the problem right at the source? Well, this quote right here points to the real game changer: innovative new technologies that don't just manage the leaks, but actually stop them from ever happening in the first place. And this is the key. There are new fabrication technologies being developed that can basically, well, pave over those atomic potholes. They can clean and perfectly order the semiconductor surface, atom by atom, creating that perfect, smooth highway for electrons. And the result? Those energy leaks are dramatically reduced.
I mean, the difference is literally night and day. A standard chip, it's got defects, impurities, and a ton of energy leakage. But an enhanced chip, one with this ordered surface, it has significantly reduced leakage. And that directly leads to better performance across all three of those areas we talked about: financial, sustainability, and operational. It's not a band-aid, it's a foundational fix.
So this all leaves us with a pretty big question. The future of our biggest technologies, from AI to the entire digital economy, might just depend on our ability to control matter at the atomic level. It kind of proves that sometimes, to solve our absolute largest problems, we have to first master the incredibly small.